this video, I'm going to discuss some finishing techniques for knitting. The first thing I'll show you how to do is weave in your ends, and then I'll describe how you can soak and block your work. Weaving in ends is absolutely essential to finishing your knitting piece, unless you want to have your tails hanging out like that. So you're going to need your tapestry needle and some scissors or snips. Take your needle and thread the end with your tail of yarn. This is why you want to have long tails, so you can do this part. And when you block your work, the point is to make when you weave in your ends, the point is to make the ends disappear invisibly into your knitting. So you will come in very close to where the tail is sticking out of your work, but not directly back into where the tail comes out of, because that will start to unravel your work. So you're going to pull the yarn through like that. And there's a lot of different ways that people will weave in their ends. My favorite way to do it is just to go about 1 inch in one direction, and then I come back in the other direction about the same distance. The purpose of this is to keep the yarn from unraveling. So I'm just not following anything other than the natural knitting itself. That's about 1 inch. And since I just came up in this direction, I'll actually go up 1 row like that. And then weaving, that's why they call it weaving, because you're going under over, back about 1 inch. And then I am going to snip off the work and just gently tug if you need to kind of get that little end to disappear into the work. And once I start using this, I will barely be able to see that there's anything woven in there at all. So for the second end is up here at the top. It's where I bound the work off. What I'm going to do is show you how to leave a 1 inch loop. This can be handy if you have a desire to hang your washcloth above your sink, or in the bathroom, or in a closet, whatever you want to use a loop for. Also, when I did the bind off on this piece, my stitches here at the end got a little long. You can kind of see how this kind of veered off there. I'm going to use the opportunity to snug my work up when I weave in that end. So once again, I'm going to thread the eye of the tapestry needle and going to bring the yarn down 1 row and pull in. But when I reach about 1 inch, like that, like a 1 inch loop, I'm actually just going to pinch that with my thumb and pinky here. And I'm going to start weaving in from there. But I'm actually going to go ahead and go back up into the row above the bind off row to kind of snug it in. So I'm keeping that 1 inch loop off the edge there. I need a little bit more distance with my yarn. And now I'm going to come and just disguise that thread in. If you don't have the kind of looser bind off like I did there, you don't have to do that step at all or worry about it. You can also have a looser bind off and not do that step because you just don't mind. I think that that is enough where when I'm pulling on my 1-inch loop here, nothing is happening with the other end of yarn there. So that's nice and snug. And I'm going to go ahead and snip it. And there I have a way to hang my little washcloth. So you could just go ahead and start using this. It doesn't need to be blocked. If you want to learn about blocking, you can try that. The technique is done by soaking this in some lukewarm water with a tiny bit of non-bleach soap in it for about 30 minutes or until the fibers seem sufficiently wet. You'll want to make sure that they hold water and you kind of agitate the water and you'll wring it out like this a couple of times. And then you will want to make sure that all of the water has been wrung out. When you take it out of the water, you really rinse it. You can also take it and lay it on a towel and roll your piece up in the towel like a yoga mat and squeeze and press on it so that all extra water comes out. And then you lay it flat and you shape it on a towel for it to dry completely. So I'm just demonstrating how I would block this with my hands into the right desired shape. If your edges come in this way or maybe that way, it's a little wider at the top than the bottom, or vice versa. Blocking is a great opportunity to kind of shape it a little bit, and it will kind of dry to that shape. When you knit garments that have a very specific measurement, people will use sewing pins to hold it specifically to an exact measurement. So I would say, well, okay, this is going to be exactly 2.5 inches. You would pin it to place. But for a piece like this, you really don't need to pin it down because it's not having to fit somebody's body. It's just shaping it so that it looks even and neat. And the fiber has a memory and it will hold that shape that you block it to. You can also block with a steam iron as another option. As opposed to soaking, you can use a steam iron without touching the work. You can press a steam iron and it will shoot some steam and hot water on there. But that is the technique for blocking.